Spring is here. Flowers are in bloom and birds are chirping. At some point in your life, you've probably wondered about the birds chirping in bushes and trees. What does a robin look like? What does a cardinal look like? We hear the names thrown around a lot, but would you be able to point one out even if you saw one? Maybe. Maybe not. Regardless, birding or birdwatching is a great hobby if you, 1, like being outside and 2, have some curiosity about birds. We're going to share 5 tips about how to start birdwatching. Just remember that the hardest step is usually the first, but when there's a will, there's a way. Let's get into it. Tip number 1 is to get a pair of binoculars. Make sure your first pair of binoculars fits your current goal, budget, and reflects your level of interest in birdwatching. In other words, if you're just trying out the hobby, it's probably not the best idea to spend a lot of money just yet. There are many good enough binoculars under $100 as a baseline budget, ranging from LL Bean to Nikon. It's tempting to buy binoculars online and it is a convenient option, financially and time-wise, but if you're able to, we recommend checking out your local outdoors or camera shop so you can test different binoculars in person. What are you testing different binoculars for? For starters, clearness and magnification abilities. Your first instinct might be to go for binoculars with very high magnification so you can observe birds as close as possible. At the same time, be aware that high magnification binoculars often lead to image shake, where that high-powered focus on the bird's every movement makes the entire image shake. In short, you'll find it difficult to make the image steady and enjoy the moment. Instead, it may be a safe bet to go for binoculars with 7 to -10 times magnification. 8 times is commonly considered an ideal magnification factor to birdwatch clearly from a distance. The objective lens diameter is very important as well. The size of the objective lens will determine how much light it can gather, or how clearly you'll be able to see birds in weather conditions that are not bright or sunny. Larger lenses can gather more light, but they're heavier. The de facto gold standard is about 40 mm, 42 mm, or 44 mm. There are many binocular options with objective lenses smaller than 35 mm. They'll be easier to carry, but might lead to a less than satisfactory experience when birdwatching in cloudy, rainy, or generally gloomy weather. Keep in mind that most birdwatching is not done only on sunny days, so make sure to buy binoculars that are waterproof and fog-proof. In addition, you'll also want to make sure the binoculars are a good fit for your hands. Ask yourself if you feel comfortable holding them and if you'll feel comfortable doing so for long periods of time. Think about the kinds of trails, hikes, or even walks around your neighborhood that you might be doing when choosing a pair of binoculars. Just choosing the cheapest binoculars might taint your experience with birdwatching because you probably won't be able to get as great an experience with poor quality binoculars. Ultimately, we recommend choosing moderately priced binoculars that will give you a fair chance at falling in love with birdwatching. Tip number 2 is to buy a field guide. A bird field guide, whether a physical or digital book, is a guide that helps its users identify birds native to specific regions. For instance, if you're going birding in Arizona or Nevada, you would probably buy a field guide for the American Southwest, or a field guide particular to the relevant state or city. Fundamentally a bird encyclopedia, most field guides have photos or paintings of birds with information including their scientific names, the families they belong to, and provide look-alike birds as references for birders to identify one from the other in their natural habitat. Most physical field guides range from about $15 all the way to $50, with the majority being somewhere in the $20 something range. Some of our recommendations include the Kaufman Field Guide to Birds of North America, the Field Guide to the Neighborhood Birds of New York City, and the Adventure Publications of Birds of New York Field Guide. We also recommend Cornell University's Merlin Bird ID app, if you want to go the digital route. It's a bonus that it happens to be free as well. Tip number 3 is to keep a birdwatching diary. Many birders like to keep track of the birds they see, as well as when and where they saw them. Starting a birdwatching diary can help keep you engaged, compare notes with other birdwatchers, and simply make the experience more fun. In the same way people like to keep track of how many miles they ran and how many restaurants they've checked off their culinary bucket list, birdwatching record keeping can range from a bullet point list, a spreadsheet, or whatever notepad you have laying around. It isn't about what you use, it's about being consistent and keeping yourself observant and excited about birdwatching. Tip number 4 is to join a local birdwatching group. You don't absolutely have to join a local birdwatching group in order to start birdwatching. In fact, you can start birdwatching at your local park when you take walks around your neighborhood or while you're on vacation. But, like many other hobbies, many times joining a group helps you learn more at a faster pace and it helps keep you accountable. We don't know what we don't know, and that applies to birdwatching too. Joining your local Audubon Society's chapter, or really any birdwatching organization, will give you access to resources in the form of professional and semi-professional birdwatchers and expert birding enthusiasts. With their calendar of birding events as well, it's easier to stay on track because they already know the best locations and times to likely observe diverse birds. It can be frustrating and overwhelming to start a somewhat niche hobby like this on your own. Overthinking where to start looking for birds and possibly becoming disappointed about not seeing what you think you should see as fast as you would like is an easy path to quitting before you truly start. Instead, we recommend you search for like-minded peers who enjoy birds, nature, and being active. A bonus is that you'll likely meet new friends with shared interests. Tip number 5 is to use a bird feeder if you have the space. If you have a backyard, green space generally, or even a balcony or fire escape where you can hang a bird feeder, it's a great way to literally bring the birds to you, up close and personal. It's best to get a sturdy bird feeder that also suits your taste. After all, you'll likely be looking at it whenever you're home. Keep in mind that it will be outside as well, so it needs to be durable enough to withstand your local weather. Bird feeders come in all shapes, sizes, and budgets. Plastic tube bird feeders go for less than $20 on Amazon, while more solid bird feeders are typically $25 or more, including log feeders that hang vertically so birds can cling to them while moving up and down for food, shelter, or rest. Of course, if you want to splurge, smart bird feeders like Bird Buddy start at around $199. If you want to watch birds in a similar fashion on a smaller budget, a much cheaper option is to buy a Ring doorbell and attach it to the bird feeder so that anytime a bird and probably a squirrel or anything else passes through, Ring will alert you and record and store the live footage. In addition to the price and design of your bird feeder, please keep the safety of birds in mind. Remember that your bird feeder should be about 3 feet to your windows, so that if birds do come within range of your bird feeder, they're not flying fast enough to fatally crash into your window and kill themselves. It's estimated that about 100 million to 1 billion birds accidentally fly into glass windows in the USA because it's invisible to them, so it's a legitimate concern. We want to watch birds, not accidentally hurt them, so let's be mindful of what we can do to help them and enjoy their presence as we undertake our birdwatching journeys together. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. Thanks for your support and see you next time.